Baking is one of Janet and my most favourite activities. Now I know we shouldn't be eating cake, but now and again there is nothing more delicious. Now today we're going to show you how to do a beautiful sour cream cherry loaf. First thing you always do, set the oven shelf in the middle of the oven, or if it's a very high pan, you can set it one shelf below the middle. But you want to be somewhere in the middle of the oven. Next thing, you switch the oven on 180 degrees. Next thing, before you start any mixing, you prepare the pan. Now, the loaf pan, we have lined the bottom of the pan with some baking paper. But before you put the baking paper in order to allow the paper to stick, you butter the bottom of the pan, or you can oil it. Then put the baking paper in and make sure that you cut it exactly to the size of the bottom of the pan. We're using our vanilla cake mixture, and today we're giving the vanilla cake a bit of a twist. Instead of following the box instructions, which tells you to use milk and to use oil, we are going to use sour cream and we're going to use butter. And that'll give us a completely different texture to the cake. We'll have a Madeira cake type of texture. Now we're using extra large eggs and then real butter. And the butter must be at room temperature. Now we're going to cream the butter with the electric beater. When the butter is nice and fluffy and creamed, we're going to add the eggs one at a time. And you add 1 egg and a tablespoon of the dry mix, beat it in. The sour cream or creme fraiche, whatever you're able to get, goes in. Then we're going to use a bit of lemon juice. We're going to add some cherries, and the cherries, we've cut them in half. What we're going to do is to save a little bit of the mixture and toss it in with the cherries so that the floured cherries gets added into the mixture. And a bit of lemon rind. Now, a loaf cake will always be inclined to rise up to a point in the middle. Now, to minimize that effect, it's a good idea to take a spoon and make a deepish indentation all along the length of the tin, so that you almost work the mixture up more towards the sides so that we allow for that peaking that takes place. Once the cake is cooled, we can cut it into neat little slices. Now, can you see what I mean by the Madeira texture? If you find that your cake breaks a little bit, then cut it from this side. We're going to serve this on a little tray, and just for fun, let's dust the tray with some icing sugar. Now we can put our slices of cake on there. Now this cake is obviously delicious with a cup of tea or coffee, but after a couple of days, if you make a trifle with this, it is to die for. Now while we're playing, to make the little chocolate chip cookies is a piece of cake. But let me show you a little variation which is delicious. If you roll the mixture into tiny little marble-sized, teaspoon-sized balls and line a mini muffin pan with these little chocolate-sized paper cups, and then bake them according to the instructions on the pack, and then you pack them out on a tray and We melt some chocolate, put the chocolate into a tiny little plastic bag, snip the most minute little corner, one corner of the bag off, and just pipe chocolate over the cakes and over the tray. And that is the perfect tea time treat.